So I made this pretty much very same video a year and a half ago, and I have a whole year to add to this list as I'm turning 30, which is absolutely insane. When this video first came out, one comment that I found funny, definitely not the most popular comment, was how bad the years I had to pick from were. And yeah, if I had gotten the entirety of the 90s, I would maybe agree. And I can agree. I've been thinking a lot about decades in terms of movies. And, some would say 2000s and the 2010s weren't great. And I think that's something to look into. For me, I've seen a lot from those decades. Growing up in them will make that so. And that might be the case. But I will say the 90s and specifically 1995 are pretty freaking dope. Anywho, I've been kind of taking my time, dragging my feet, some would say, getting into the actual heat of the matter. I know you're here because you want to know what films are good from each year. And I'm here to do that for you. Some films have changed, some have remained from that video. Like I said, that was a year and a half ago. Heat 1995 has not changed because that film is the best heist of all time. And in the discussion for Best Crime Movie, it's the first time De Niro and Pacino share an on-screen scene together. And they are at the peak of their powers, or damn near close to it. And it shows in that movie. There's so much that you can really say that's great about that film. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. Not all these films are 5 out of 5s. Heat, bona fide 5 out of 5. 1996, I got Fargo. This, I believe, has changed previously. I had one of the films that I had previously, I looked at, I was like, as time has gone on, I haven't thought about this film the same way. And Fargo does. I think it is hysterical. I think it's really well scripted. Funny fact about this, there's fun facts and then there's funny facts. The true story claim was completely fabricated. And the Coens added it to make the film feel more grounded. And I think it works in great comedic effect because you're thinking to yourself, how in the world do people like this exist? And generally they don't. And they can only be written by people as brilliant as the Coen brothers. And that's what makes Fargo so unique. 1997, this is a weird pick. I don't think a lot of people are... I don't know if you guys have even seen this, most of you, but it's Happy Together. It's about a gay couple, and it's a romance where they bicker, they fight. It's very humanistic, but the cinematography is just absolutely amazing. And there's so many layers to the relationship, and just it feels so rooted in realism. And Wong Kar-wai is one of the dopest directors when it comes to both cinematography and romantic type movies that it's cool for me to include him. I'm definitely giving myself a pat on the back, but I think one of his films at least needs to be put on the list. And this was the year where things just worked out in favor to do so. 98, Saving Private Ryan. And look, it's one of the quintessential World War II movies. The action at the beginning is what everyone's going to remember, but the story of how people put their lives on the line for Matt Damon, of all people, just kidding. But it is funny. And they're like, hey man, we all sacrificed ourselves for you. And it makes you wonder, like, the film poses rather, this very interesting question. It's like, what's so special about him? Now look, like, all of his brothers died, and it felt unfair for this mom to lose all of her boys basically within a month. But that still is a question that the film wants you to think about, and that's for you to figure out on your own. Like, there is no one answer, I think, and someone could come up with a really compelling answer that makes perfect sense. That's what the film wants to resonate after the fact, and it's kind of like, look, he's something important to us, and we're gonna do what it takes. And that's kind of what World War II was about. It's like, hey, you sacrifice a lot in war, in battle. I've never been in battle, but the prospect of a war is saying, look, we're gonna put our life and limb on the line for what we think to be greater good of all of society. You know, there's something that you're willing to put that all on the line for. And, you know, this specific battle was about Matt Damon, but World War II, it's much more clear. It's like, you know, you see genocides going on. You see a tyrannical dictator looking to take over the world. And it was much more black and white. But, you know, people could easily say, well, why are we sacrificing ourselves for them over there? And, you know, it seems more ludicrous to ask that, but I think by framing it through Matt Damon, it is easier to question, and that's the point, to make you think, you know, in certain situations. It's like, hey, I think this is right, even though it feels like a hard commitment, or though you may be giving up too much for your ideals. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So I don't have any more cliches. So we'll move on to the next one, which is 99 Fight Club. Sorry. It's one of the best twists of all time. Brad Pitt is just stupid good. He's not stupid, but he's so good it's stupid. Very charismatic. He plays that role perfectly. To make all the dynamics, the fact that he could kind of create this grassroots cult, and also that he is what Edward Norton wants to be most. It doesn't work if Brad Pitt isn't as good as Tyler Durden. And fun fact, Starbucks cups are hidden in almost every scene. So I'll take it David Fincher isn't a huge fan of Starbucks, or that he feels Starbucks, rather, is kind of indicative of American excess, which, hey, I'm going to stay out of that one. 2000, Yi Yi. I'm a big fan of Edward Yang, and for this film, Edward Yang won Best Director at Cannes 2000, and it really is an underappreciated masterpiece. He has two films that I would say are magnum opus level for him, which is saying a lot because all of the films I've seen are really damn good. Yi Yi's one of them, and A Brighter Summer Day is another one. But Yi Yi is great cinematography, which you'll always find from Edward Yang. Complex narratives that intertwine into one another, and always a focus on perspective. At least that's what I've taken from his films, because if you see the way he communicates that and how it can change from person to person, it is just intensely brilliant. He's one of the smartest directors of all time, just focusing on that one aspect. And it's communicated in Yi Yi by the youngest boy always taking pictures of the backs of people's heads, which is to say, well, just that little thing, as stupid as it may sound, something you very rarely or never see with your own eyes, is to say, like, people will see you much differently than you ever see yourself. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with Yi Yi. 2001, I had to have one of the Lord of the Rings in here. I'm going Return of the King. It won 11 Oscars, and it tied the Titanic and Ben-Hur with that many Oscar wins. Truly, the trilogy is really amazing. And, I like Fellowship of the Ring. I like The Two Towers. Return of the King is not my favorite of the bunch, but it had to win for this year just because it beat out all the other competition. 2002 rather, City of God. This to me is like Goodfellas in the favelas, which is a movie that I'm going to try to write now that favela Goodfellas. I like the way that rings. But it is intensely gritty, great crime drama. You get the story of young kids, which is another, the favelas. You're going to have young criminals because it's a young man's game in Brazil. The mob, they had the market cornered on old gangsters. Brazil, it's all about who's up and coming. So it's almost like a professional sports league. Tom Brady, he was the exception to the rule, but it's always about who's the new young crop and who can we get on the team. Same with Brazilian crime. But, if you know anything about Brazil, crime can be rampant there, and it's very much a way of life for those who are underprivileged. And this is just the stark reality of that. And cool little tidbit, most of the cast were non-professional actors, and they were from the real favelas. So very, very cool stuff. We're going to 2023 and 2024 with Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1 is my favorite of the two for the Crazy 88 scene, and that, I guess, took 8 weeks to film. And a little tidbit about Volume 2, the Pai Mei training sequences were an homage to the 1970s Shaw Brothers Kung Fu films. Gordon Liu, who played Pai Mei, was actually a martial arts cinema legend from those original classics. The whole story is tremendous. I love samurai films, and it was actually the Kill Bill movies that made me love it so. And brilliantly done. The major characters really stick out, and they're given so much for you to really bite into as an audience member. And gee dang it, I just really appreciate that. 2005, I don't want to be judged. I want to be seen as accepting, obviously, for my inclusion of Happy Together and now Brokeback Mountain for 2005. Look, it's not that that's my style of romance, though you may think so, because the only romance included are gay romance films. And, whatever, make your own assumptions about that. But I do think that you got Heath Ledger, you got Jake Gyllenhaal. They were just fucking magical on set together. And I really do think once you get past the fact that it's like, oh, this is a gay movie, and in the literal sense, not the figurative sense, you can actually enjoy this movie for what it is, because it's just, it's just romance that wouldn't be accepted during the time period, which is an added layer, a little bit of Romeo and Juliet-esque, but it works because you get it. Because I have to mention that it's gay and be worried about how that will be perceived by you, the audience members, and maybe that shouldn't be the case, so. And the tidbit that I have about this is it was banned in several countries. Ultimately, it became a global success, but you get it. Like, people are going to be turned off by this automatically. They won't watch a second. They'll think it's funny. They'll think it's ridiculous. They'll think it's blasphemous. They'll think it's wrong. And, Ang Lee, he went out on a limb making this. And I think it really paid off because it is a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. 2006, if I'm getting my years right, The Departed. So many little details that are just great, like the X's. Everyone should know about the X's. Everyone who dies in the film will be marked by an X at some point in the film. This is paying homage to the original Scarface, not the Al Pacino Scarface. We're talking Howard Hawks. We're talking 1930s, black and white. Apparently, there was also X's. They were very prevalent just throughout the entirety of the film, like even the opening title sequences and, where they put the director and all the people who work on the film in the beginning. There was X's there. But it was prevalent throughout the film as well. And Scorsese, who is up there with Tarantino for how much he actually loves cinema, he grew up on that film, I'm sure. So he paid homage. And that's pretty freaking cool now that I've seen enough films to actually have seen the original Scarface. And this is better than that. The Departed is better than that. Now, is it better than the Scarface remake, which has been made popular by Brian De Palma? That's a discussion. But The Departed is amazing. Leo's great in it. Even small parts like Marky Mark. That's probably his best role. And he's on screen for, we'll call it an even 5 minutes. And I might be underselling it, but I might be right on the dot too. Everyone's great. Jack Nicholson, amazing as Whitey Bulger. It's still probably the best probably the best Whitey Bulger performance. And they've done, a few more, Black Mass being one. Johnny Depp, he's a great actor. But hey, Nicholson still outdoes him. And he wasn't even in the prime of his career. These are the twilight years, and he's still putting on great performances. And that's just because everyone came ready for The Departed. And they knew what the mission was, and they succeeded in the mission. 2007, this was a tough year because No Country for Old Men also came out in 2007. And it didn't win. There Will Be Blood won. But, they are as tight as you can get in terms of films that I like. Both masterpieces. It could switch at the drop of a dime. Which I don't know if that's a saying. But anywho, look, Javier Bardem was amazing. But Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood might just be the best performance of all time. Depends on when you ask me. If you ask me after dark, you might get one answer. If you ask me before my morning caffeine, you might get another answer. But I think there's an argument to be made that DDL put on the best performance there. And I'm a performance guy. If there's a great performance in the movie, I'm going to like it maybe more than most. The movie could suck. Someone really stands out. I'm probably going to give the movie the benefit of the doubt. Fun tidbit, the famous "I drink your milkshake" line was lifted from a real 1920s congressional transcript. Sorry for the marble mouth. But and so if that's not authentic enough for you to love There Will Be Blood, I don't know what will. Or 2008, as smart people will call it, The Dark Knight. Look, this is a sentimental favorite for me. That's also really freaking good. Heath Ledger is the man. He is the one who elevates what is a great film into an all-time classic. And also, the film was one of the first major blockbusters to use IMAX cameras. Over 20 minutes were shot in IMAX, and this revolutionized how action was captured and viewed in theaters. Christopher Nolan is one of my guys. It's easy to see why I was as you get deeper and deeper into this list, you're going to see why Christopher Nolan, Marty Scorsese, and Tarantino were the defining directors because they still stay. They have the staying power of like still being my favorites from my formative years and beyond, quite frankly. Hey, I know they get a lot of flack. Whatever. Call me whatever you want. I stand by the fact that these are great movies. 2009 Inglourious Bastards. I mean, opening is just amazing. Chef's kiss. And then there's just immediate like story building or world building of these characters, like the Bear Jew. And Brad Pitt is amazing. And in the sequence where he says, Gorlami, I love it. It's that cinema. That's what it's all about. Can we agree on that? Please. I mean, if not, then I don't think we'll ever get off on the right foot. Inglourious Bastards, it's what it's all about. And fun fact, Christoph Waltz learned four languages for this role. I barely know English, and this guy is deciding I'm going to learn 4 languages, and that would take me a lifetime. This guy's doing it for a movie, and it pays off. You see, he's one of the greats. 2010, finally I can say 20 without sounding like a doy. The Social Network. David Fincher is making another mark on this list, on my childhood, so to speak. Super fast paced, great script, great performances. Real life story, very, what's the word? I mean, Facebook was an entity back then. Like, I think everyone thought it was going to be the next Google, and it had as much name value as Google. Now time has gone on. Facebook itself isn't really popping. It really took off with the baby boomers, but like 2010, I think I would have been a freshman in high school. I was on Facebook every day, and people were filling out statuses. People were commenting on stuff. It was the cool thing for kids to be on. Like after, MySpace, Facebook picked up and it took the ball and ran with where MySpace went. Fun little tidbit. The opening scene between Mark and Erica took 99 takes and was rewritten by Aaron Sorkin multiple times during shooting to make it sharper. It sets the film's tone perfectly with overlapping dialogue and cold ambition. Look, if you made me I've never acted before, and I know they make a lot of money, lots of money. You made me say, what the rewrites made me learn new lines 99 times and made me say almost the same shit 99 times. I'm going to be a not happy camper. I mean, I'm going to be angry. But it definitely paid off for The Social Network. 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, you guys were probably thinking, man, I guess we're not putting any Harry Potter films on here, or you weren't thinking that at all. Well, guess what? I've seen the entire series, and yeah, Goblet of Fire is probably my favorite, but 2011, there was just less competition. Or I haven't seen as much competition. Who knows? It could be, hey, chicken or the egg, Your guess is as good as mine. But Part 2 is really damn good. And a fun little tidbit, Alan Rickman, he was told Snape's full arc by J.K. Rowling years before it was revealed in the books, which helped him shape his performance across the entire series in subtle, planned ways. And that is how you make a series great, because Alan Rickman is my favorite part of the entire series. Ralph Fiennes, close second. I know, I like the bad guys, though. We could argue back and forth about Snape and how he's gray instead of being a bad guy. But yeah, whatever. We'll move on to the next. 2012, Django Unchained. The name Django is a tribute to the 1966 spaghetti western Django, starring Franco Nero, who makes a cameo in Django Unchained and tells Fox's character, I know, when they're talking about the pronunciation of Django. I love the spaghetti western, the original, which is based on, but I love Django Unchained. The violence is amazing. I mean, it really is. It's great. Yeah, and that's what I mean. The narrative is great. You know, you got Christoph Waltz, you got Jamie Foxx, good performances, but the action is just unmatched. And oftentimes, you know, in the spaghetti westerns, it's like, hey man, like those shootouts are fucking. They make the movie. And with Django Unchained, man, at the end of the movie when shit goes sideways and Jamie Foxx is just firing his way out of that nice little plantation house, it is cinema to me. 2013 Dallas Buyers Club. Jared Leto was really good. Matthew McConaughey, though, he is the whole freaking show. Like RVD, Mr. Monday Night. And very few of you will get that. And that's okay, but McConaughey really, really put on for his city with this. He is a Texas native. But it is also illuminating in that, like, I didn't know diddly about the AIDS crisis just besides people were dying. And, you know, you thought, oh, they made breakthroughs with AIDS medication. That's why people aren't dying during my lifetime. I mean, you get it. I was born in 95, so I didn't see the worst of it. You know, I wasn't alive during the 80s. I didn't see what was going on. But I heard, you know, you can watch stuff from back then and you realize how bad. You know, there's that famous story about that kid who got a blood transfusion and he ends up dying because he contracts HIV, which turns into full-blown AIDS. And you learn that it's, forget what the freaking drug was, but they were just, like, it was just massacring them. It was just destroying, the drug was doing just as much damage, if not more, than the actual disease. And they were like, yep, you can't take anything else. This is, you know, and if you survive the treatment, then you survive, but no one was surviving it. So for that, yeah, it's a damn good movie as well. Fun little tidbit. It was shot in only 25 days with a $5 million budget. 2014, Whiplash. I freaking love this movie. It feels very indie. I'm not a music guy. You know, you're not going to see a lot of music-based best of the year movies from me. It's the ambition and it's the relationship between J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller. And quite frankly, it's J.K. Simmons. Teller is great as the understudy, the motivated, I will be your pupil, push me to the limit, and let's see what we can achieve. You know, he fulfills that. But J.K. Simmons is like the fucking insane drill sergeant. You know, he it's like, you know, Full Metal Jacket. It's one of those types of roles where it might even be better than Arlie Emery, quite frankly. And J.K. Simmons fucking nails it in that. Fun little tidbit. Miles Teller is actually a trained drummer and performed about 40% of the drumming himself, with the rest matched by professionals and audio enhancements. Coming up next, we got 2015, The Hateful Eight. This is the pure Western adaptation. Well, not adaptation, but Tarantino crossing genres, as he is one to do. And, you know, he hit the mark with a war film, Inglourious Basterds. Jesus, I can't talk at all. He hits the mark with Inglourious Basterds, a war film. Hits the mark with Django Unchained, a spaghetti western type. Kill Bill, Samurai. Just crossing all the genres that I enjoy. And I do like westerns. And The Hateful Eight was a damn good western. and all the characters again. I mean, it's like Tarantino, you know the dialogue's going to be great. You know the violence is going to be insane. And Hateful Eight is no exception. So I'll just get to the tidbit. The antique Martin guitar smashed by Kurt Russell was accidentally destroyed for real. It was a priceless museum loan. Jennifer Jason Leigh's shocked reaction was genuine, and the museum banned further loans to film productions. Now we're on to 2016. This is a new one. Manchester by the Sea, and my oh my, Ben Affleck's little bro got them acting chops, and it shows in this. It's a sad movie, depressing, some would say, and the screenplay won Kenneth Lonergan his first Oscar. Rightfully so. Damn good movie. 2017, Good Time. Robert Pattinson, he put on for his city. On for his city. This is a good one. A great one. A masterpiece even. Kinetic energy just flows. It's kind of like, if you like Scorsese, he has a movie where it's just like crazy stuff that happens over the course of a night. I forget what the fuck it's called, but I'm looking it up for you because I care. After Hours. It's like that, but better, in my opinion. Now, I know some of you just heard that, and if you're still listening, like, you're a real one. Subscribe, too. Hopefully that didn't upset you too much. It's like After Hours in that it's like, hey, man, just crazy shit's happening. It's not over the course of one night, but the majority of it is. You know, he's trying to. There's the story, the love between brothers. Pattinson's character trying to make Safdie his. You know, like he wants the best for him, but he doesn't know how to do it in like an actual positive way, or like a realistic way, maybe. So he gets him into a load of shit, and it's the. What are the lengths you would go to right that wrong, and then where does everyone end up after the fact? But again, it's just like, it's very snappy, it's punchy, it looks amazing, and truly the performance of Robert Pattinson is what makes it so much worth watching. I'm a huge fan. And a little tidbit: Robert Pattinson wore actual clothes from New York City thrift stores while filming. 2018, The Favorite. I'm a big fan of Yorgos Lanthimos, and this is his most accessible film of what he has to offer. And I think it pays off in a great way. I love the time period aspect of it all, but it also, whilst being a time period piece, feels very like modern day human, if that makes sense at all. It's like you can relate to these characters, where oftentimes sometimes that can be lost in period pieces. So hats off to Yorgos for pulling that off. Fun little tidbit, rather, the fisheye lenses were used to create the off-kilter period aesthetic. Now we got 2019, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know. You're getting Tarantino fatigue, but I like him so much. You know, he's my guy. He's my director. He's one of the best of all times in my mind. Like or love how he is personally. He makes good movies. This one gets underrated by people, but truly, well, the ending is badass. I mean, you get that signature Tarantino violence, but the relationship between Leo and Pitt it's something different. You really only get it in Jackie Brown, between Jackie and I think it's the bondsman. But it's done like that, the camaraderie though, because that has like a tinge of romanticism to it. And this is just bros being bros, and they're there for each other, and it's special, and I like it. Tidbit: Tarantino built entire retro sets on real LA streets for the film. 2020, I'm thinking of ending things. Jesse Plemons' character is loosely inspired by Charlie Kaufman's own fears of obscurity and loneliness, with scenes referencing Kaufman's past films like Synecdoche, New York, and even Being John Malkovich. This is a dope film, kind of confusing, but ultimately, like, it just, like, touches upon something that's so hard to touch upon, and that's the beauty of Kaufman. I know some people really, really don't like Kaufman for, like, they think he's a hack and it's just like false creativity. I'm completely in the opposite camp. I do think he is quite brilliant. I like his ideas, and I do think he is one of a kind writer. And I'm thinking of Ending Things is amongst his, it's fresh. And 2020, it doesn't have a lot of, quite frankly, it doesn't have as much competition. And I need to try to find as many films from that year, but obviously the pandemic makes there be slim pickings. But to get a Charlie Kaufman written and directed work for that year makes it an easier pick than most. 2021, Dune. I didn't give this nearly as much credit when I first watched it. And I watched it again, and I was like, this is Star Wars level, Lord of the Rings level good, just world building. And I've come around on it big time. Fun tidbit, the sandworm effects were inspired by whale anatomy. So next time you see a whale, think of the sandworm from Dune. 2022, Banshees of Inisherin. Colin Farrell and Brandon Gleeson hadn't acted together since In Bruges 2008, and both reportedly cried after reading the script because it felt so personal. A real black comedy that outlines just like male relationships in such a weird way. I would have never thought to write about something like this, and it's unique, and God, I appreciate it. But, you know, it's so unique, and like, how the fuck did you think of this? While at the same time, it's like, I get it. I understand it. So to have that level of relatability and uniqueness is truly should be commended. 2023 didn't change. Oppenheimer, still my best. Feels profound. What it talks about is truly world changing. I mean, the world changed after the atomic bomb. Fun little tidbit. No CGI was used for the Trinity nuclear explosion. So it must have just set off a really big fucking bomb and like, hey, let's film it. Last but not least, Dune Part 2. Is it surprising after the way I talked about Dune 1 and like Dune Part 2 is better? In my opinion, it's close. I get it. And you can hate or you can appreciate. And I appreciate Dune Part 2. Director Denis Villeneuve said this sequel was the first time he felt like he made a film with no compromise, calling it his most complete vision to date. That's inspirational shit right there. I like to hear that. Thank you for joining me. This video ended up being longer than I had anticipated, but let me know what your list would be with all the years you lived, not just 95 through 2024. If you were born in the 70s, let me hear it, because I'm always looking for new recommendations. But I hope you appreciated this video, and I will catch you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.